Hi, welcome to Holistically Speaking. I'm your host, Lynna Balcom. Today we're going to be discussing Ayurvedic medicine with Felicia Foster. She is a certified Ayurvedic practitioner and educator with the Chopra Center. She's also studied with Dr. Vasant Lad, and she is a certified primordial sound meditation practitioner with the Chopra Center and has studied with Bri Maya Tawara. So welcome, Felicia. We're glad to have you today.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So why don't we start by discussing what is Ayurveda? What is Ayurvedic medicine?
Ayurveda is an ancient healing modality, and it is actually based on our constant interaction with our environment and the whole universe and with each other. And actually, it is also based on the fact that we are all made of the same 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth. And all of those elements are constantly interacting with us and inside of us and interacting with each other to create balance. And with Ayurveda, you can have a pulse diagnosis and we can tell what your primary dosha is. Vata, Pitta, Kapha are your 3 doshas, and we can tell by your pulse what your common one is. It's kind of like your DNA. And then we know exactly how to bring balance into your life by looking at all of those things.
So can you tell us a little bit what is a dosha? For someone who's flipping through the channels and discovers us today and they hear that word, they might not know what it means. So can you explain to us what a dosha is?
A dosha kind of is, we could look at it as your DNA, what you're made out of, and how all of those 5 elements of space, air, fire, water, and earth are moving within your body. So you have the Vata dosha, which is space and air, and the Pitta dosha, which is fire and water, and the Kapha, which is earth and water. And what we do is we look at all of that 5 elements and we see how they are in balance. You know, what is there too much of one and not enough of another, and we can bring them all in balance.
Okay, so everybody's dosha, we all have the 5 elements, we all have the 3 dosha, but my dosha might be in one level of balance and yours might be in a different level of balance. And we were also talking earlier before the show that just because my dosha are in this particular level of balance today doesn't mean that's standard or stationary. So we talked a little bit about how they're always changing. So can you share with us about what causes them to change and how do we understand a little bit about the change process?
Exactly. Well, we always all have all of those 5 elements in our bodies, and they are constantly expanding and retracting. And the things that they respond to that help them to either increase or decrease are the foods that you eat, the actions that you take, your entire lifestyle, the smells that you smell, everything, absolutely everything actually works on it and increases and decreases all of the doshas. So that when you look at a person, I might look at someone and do their pulse diagnosis and find out that their pitta is very, very high, which is the fire and the water. And so I have to say, well, we have to do something to create a balance and bring that pitta down. And then there are very cooling things that we can do. And we're also affected by the seasons. The hot summer increases pitta. The cold, cold winter increases kapha. And then you have all the winds and the lightning and all of that increases vata. We respond to everything that occurs every moment of every day.
So Ayurveda really helps us if we're focused and intentional with it. It helps us stay as balanced as we can.
Exactly. And when you understand what those vatas mean and what they're doing and what they're responding to, then you know exactly what you need to do to bring yourself back into balance. You can feel it. You can say, oh my goodness, I am really angry, impatient, and I'm very judgmental today. Well, stop for a moment, because that's a sign your pitta is very high.
Okay.
So what do I do to bring back my pitta back to normal?
Great. So where, if someone is brand new to this, where can they learn a little bit more? How, I'm hearing these dosha and pitta and kapha and vata, and I'm very new to this, so it's very exciting. How do I learn a little bit more? How do I know if I'm feeling that anxiety that you were just talking about and I need to bring my pitta down? How do I learn to do that?
Well, the first thing is that there are dosha tests that you can take, and you can go to chopra.com, and there are different pieces of information that can help you kind of look at and say, maybe this, maybe that. And that's true, and it gives you a great amount of information about exactly what Ayurveda is and what it's doing and what you can do to bring yourself back to balance. But having a personalized pulse diagnosis is about the best thing that you can do, because you have 3 different pulses and at 3 different levels in your arm, and they exactly, when they're taken, tell you exactly what your main dosha is, like your DNA, what is happening right now, and where you're moving to.
Right.
And then when you have that information, you look at everything from that point on down, and you know exactly what you need to create to bring yourself back to balance.
Great. So there's some online resources, but you recommend, if someone's really interested in knowing more, to connect with a practitioner like you.
Exactly. And then once you have that information, there are very many treatments and cleanses that you can do, Ayurvedic treatments that are totally amazing.
Right. So we talked a little bit earlier about how this connects with our vibration and our energies. And so can you share with us how would we make some of those changes? What are some examples if I am, if my pitta is really high or my kasha is very low? How do I find some of those balance moments? What are some examples of things that would be components of Ayurvedic experience?
Well, we'll talk about, you said the pitta being high, and there are herbs and there are different things that you can, changes in your food, changes in your scents that you take in, all of that stuff that you can do. But one of the things that you can do is when you're feeling like that, and you stop for a moment and simply be present in that moment and ask yourself, what am I feeling? What's going on? What do I want to change? How can I make that change? And go inside yourself and get those answers. And then it's amazing how you do that, because you're not blaming anyone. You're not doing anything except looking inside yourself, connecting to that soul energy. And that's giving you your answers. And the other things that you can do are breath work. Breathing in and being very present to the breath coming into you and releasing anxiety. The breath coming into you and releasing anxiety. And there are so many practices. Yoga is a great one. Meditation is very healing, very soothing.
Great. So thank you. We were talking a few minutes ago about the symptoms that we might experience if we have different dosha that are out of balance, and also the experiences we might have when they are a little bit imbalanced. Can you share with us what the 2 sides, I would say, that might not be how you would describe it, but when kapha or pitta are in balance and when they're out of balance, what experiences might we have in those different moments?
So if you look at vata, when vata is in balance, vata is very creative, energetic, artistic, just constantly creating new things. But if the vata gets out of control and is too high, that creativity goes to a place where they're absolutely not present at all. They're airborne, And they're the type of people who they'll go from this thing to that thing to this thing to that thing, and that's how they act. They eat that way, they sleep that way, they don't sleep well at night. All of those symptoms, because there's too much air and space.
Okay.
When they're balanced, they're creative. You take a Pitta person, when they're balanced, they're very organized. They are creators of things where they know every single thing that is going on. Very creative people and very balanced people. When they're out of control, they are controlling and they are angry and they're very frustrated and they cannot tolerate that. So that's when they're out of balance. Kapha is the earth energy, which is beautiful. When a kapha is in balance, they are very, very secure, solid people. They are grounded. They are great thinkers. They are the ones who sit in the background and look, don't make judgments. They're just there for you. When they become overwhelmed, they withdraw. They become quiet. You can even become very depressed. Too much earth energy is not good either.
Right. So too much of anyone is not good. So
Exactly.
the whole point is to try to keep us as closely aligned with balance of all three as possible.
Exactly. And what we have to remember, which is really important, is that that constantly changes with everything that happens in our life. But being present and being aware of the changes and then making the changes that you need is what Ayurveda teaches you.
Right. I could be aware and present and still not choose to make the change, and I won't see any results that I'm hoping for.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Really. So we were talking earlier also about how there are many healing properties when we start practicing this method and that we can really change our health. So can you talk a little bit more with us about that?
About changing our health as...
Yeah, with using Ayurveda to improve our health.
Exactly. Well, the thing about it is, once you use Ayurveda to improve your health, you could come off medications you may have been on. You could have done a lot of things, but the most important thing I want to say about that is that in an emergent situation, you're not going to go to Ayurveda. You're going to go to your doctor. Right. I'm a nurse, and I will tell you that that's the first thing that always concerns me about integrative medicine. It's a beautiful thing, but it is integrative.
Okay.
And when there are emergent situations, yes, you need to see your physician. And you need to talk with your physician. And you need to know that if you're going to take Ayurvedic herbs or whatever, that they're not contraindicated with any medication you're already on. And it's interesting because people think it's an herb, it's safe.
Right.
There are contraindications with herbs that have killed people.
Right.
I mean, I've seen it happen when I was in the hospital, working. And these are the things that you have to understand. Ayurveda is a method to bring you back into balance. And when you are in balance, any of us, there are no blockages and the energy is flowing through your body and you're in perfect health. But you must be sure that there's no process along the way that interferes and causes more problems.
Right. So it's not a standalone process. We want to make sure that we're collaborating with our physician and the health process that we may already be involved with.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Because if you do all of the things that Ayurveda teaches you to do, you will go into healing.
Right. So I could be on some medication, start practicing Ayurveda, start really being aware and intentional about my balance of my dosha, and work with my physician and get off medication, as opposed to saying, oh, I'm going to do Ayurveda, I'm going to stop taking my meds.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Exactly.
Important, really important.
Very, very
Really
important.
So can you share with us maybe some examples of ways that either practicing Ayurveda has changed your life or some of the folks that you've worked with over the years, some examples of how it can really impact things in a very positive way?
Well, I've worked with people who've had cardiac issues because I'm a cardiology nurse. And I have worked with them with meditation and with Ayurvedic practice, changing the way that they eat. People don't realize the power of food and how it can have such an effect on you. And what the effect is of all the chemicals that are in the things that we're eating, the GMOs, all of these things. Your body doesn't recognize these things, and they're negative. And when they come into your body's initial reaction is to protect yourself and prevent anything from happening to your immune system. And that's what happens during a disease process. Ayurveda brings you to a place where you're not creating that environment. You're healing the environment so that your body is reacting in a positive way, and that's the beginning of the healing process. As I said, with meditation and breath work and yoga, that helps cardiology patients. Why do you think that is?
Probably brings your stress levels down. It brings you to a place where you're more calm.
Exactly.
Right?
It's taking that pitta away. And I mean, it's really interesting because if you do pulse diagnosis, a lot of cardiac patients have high pitta and have had it for a period of time. And you know, stress.
Right.
I mean,
we all know.
We all know what stress does to us.
Right. So I've heard you speak already about, briefly about yoga and meditation, and now you've shared a little bit about food and the food choices we make, and I heard you mention herbs. So it sounds like this is a very holistic type of approach. And so it's not just one component, right?
Exactly.
So if I were to want to jump in and learn a little bit more, where would you recommend I start in some of the things that we've already talked about? Or maybe there's something we haven't yet addressed that might be a good starting point.
Well, as far as starting, I would say to a person, they need to look at their entire lifestyle.
Okay.
Okay? You need to know, what kind of foods are you buying? Where are you buying them from? I mean, I tell people, if they possibly can, buy nothing but local organic food that is grown right here, because that's all part of the process that changes the food and what we eat and the way that we respond to it. You know, what kind of chemicals do you have in your house? You know, what are you doing for your relaxation? What are you doing for fun? Do you sleep at night? What is your job like? Are you happy at your job? To look at their entire lifestyle and then get a little bit of background from Ayurveda, from maybe doing a test and seeing, wow, this is too much of my life, this is too much in my life.
Right.
I've got to cut back this, cut back that. I mean, even the GMOs in all the foods that we eat.
They're making changes for us that get us out of balance.
Exactly. Because our body doesn't recognize that at all. So it's responding in protection.
So I guess what I'm hearing you say is, if I'm interested, I could start someplace fairly simple and think about what I'm eating, right?
Clean up,
or
yes.
think about my stress level at work and how I'm reacting to that, or try to be healthier about my sleep pattern. So it doesn't have to be an all-changing process from the get-go. I could begin with a slow lean in to the experience, or I could take a big leap right in and start meeting with someone for some, private consultations.
Yes.
Right?
And then once you know what your dosha is and what's going on, and you totally understand that, you just look at that every day of your life. You'll know. You'll know what's going on. I'm doing, this is too high, this is too high, this is causing this is causing that. You'll know.
Right.
Because you'll begin to know what the feelings are and the actions from the dosha's balance, and what foods, aromas, everything that you can do to change that.
Right.
Because
so
it's
it
out
starts
there.
to become just my natural reaction to my environment. I'll start recognizing, oh, I'm feeling a little anxious today. My pitta is high, and this has in the past brought my pitta down. So that's the kind of thing that you're describing?
Exactly.
Great.
Yes. And so pretty soon you'll know exactly what to do when you're not feeling right.
Right. So we wanted to talk a little bit also about meditation and how that interacts and what the importance of meditation with Ayurveda is. So can you share, I know that you are a primordial, that's a hard word for me to say, a primordial sound meditation instructor. So can you share with us a little bit about the role that meditation plays in this experience as well?
Well, meditation brings you into yourself so that you're not distracted by all of your thoughts. I need to do this, I need to do that, I got to go here, I got to go there. And it really brings you inside of yourself where all of your energy is, and where all of your knowledge is. And especially primordial sound meditation, because your mantra is your mantra alone, no one else's.
It's individualized.
Absolutely, and it's
Okay.
done with Ayurvedic technology, and it's based on the moment you were born, when you passed from the unmanifest to the manifest world. And that vibration becomes your mantra, and that's because all those vibrations give us all of the information that we know. And going in there is a place of absolute peace and quiet. It's a distraction. It turns your brain off. Because usually, I mean, you can be doing one thing and thinking
Thinking about something
10,000
else.
other
Right.
things.
Right. Not be entirely present.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it changes our vibrations when we go into some meditation, right?
Yes.
And Ayurveda changes our vibrations as well. So that's somehow some of the ways that it's connected, correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the things that we talked about before was that the needs of our bodies change as we go through our lives. And so what are the things that we should avoid or be really aware of so that we don't find ourselves out of balance?
Well, I think the most important thing I can say is to be present. Every single moment, to be present and bring yourself to that place where you're asking yourself, what am I feeling right now? What would I like to feel right now? What do I need to do to make this happen? Being present is where all the answers are. And then having the knowledge of Ayurveda and the ways to heal, that's the whole story.
Right.
Because when you're present, you will know. And when you are truly open and want to change, the door is open and you'll have the information.
Right. So how does someone do that? I think for many people who've practiced for a long time, it's second nature to be present. But for many people, being present is a challenge.
Absolutely.
So how would you encourage folks to become more comfortable or be more skilled at being present?
Well, I'll tell you what I learned from Eckhart Tolle, who I've studied with. The way that you do that is when something comes up, whether it's you're ill or there's a confrontation or something comes up, stop.
Okay.
Close your eyes and ask yourself, what just happened? Answer it. What am I feeling? Answer it. What do I want to feel? Answer it. What am I going to do right now to get that feeling? Answer it. And that is the way you do it, because it's amazed.
Right.
Because you are making a choice. You are being present, you know what's happening, and you're making a choice. But you've got to stop yourself immediately because we react.
Right. So instead of rolling with the flow of my life in that moment, stop. And so let's review what those questions were again. So
what is happening right now?
what is happening right now?
What am I feeling?
What am I feeling?
What do I want to feel?
And how do I?
And how do I make that happen?
Okay.
Because otherwise, you're just constantly reacting from your subconscious mind, which is filled with
Lots
everything.
of right. Lots of things that keep
but
you
it's
from
not
being
reality.
present. Right.
It's not reality.
Okay. Lots of things that keep you from being present.
Exactly.
So that's a pretty simple thought process. It's probably a little more challenging to execute that.
But
right?
once you do it, and you realize and you know, instead of reacting, you're going to stop, and that becomes part of the way you are, it's easy.
It becomes easy. So it's, again, so I guess what I'm hearing you say the entire conversation we've had so far is once you become comfortable and you understand this, it becomes second nature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Really what you're doing is becoming reconnected with yourself. And once that happens, all the answers are there for
Right.
you.
I suppose that it's hard to stay out of balance when you understand how it feels to be in balance and how it feels to be out of balance, that you would want to stay in that balanced place more frequently because it's a more comfortable place to be for your mind, your body, and your spirit.
Exactly. And I've had people say who have done this work with me, I can't believe what I would have done Had I not said that,
Right.
had I not stopped, and they look at that and go, whoa, I would have, this is what I would have done, and it would have been a reaction and
Right.
caused more anxiety or illness.
Right. So, well, and I bet there's a lot of people who have become practitioners or become users of Ayurvedic medicine and have not realized how badly they felt until they felt better.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And it's just a matter of being aware, being present and being aware.
Being present, being aware, understanding our dosha. And so if someone wanted, you were talking about the fact that you do workshops and that you are planning to have some primordial meditation workshops come up, and that you also at times do Ayurvedic workshops, and that there's also personal consultation that you do. And we'll put up your information, your contact. Oh, there it is. There's some contact information about how to get connected, and that there's ways to be connected with a practitioner in a formal way, and that's important if someone really wants to delve and understand, because it needs to be in harmony with the rest of your health.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Great. So we only have a couple of moments left, a minute or two left. So what are some of the things that you would want our viewers to walk away remembering the most important information about Ayurvedic medicine?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is that healing is in our hands, that we can take care of symptoms and we can do a lot of things to get rid of symptoms, but the healing begins deep inside of us. And the person who is involved, who can make that healing and balance occur, is us. And it's about being present, being aware, and making all the right choices. And that is what Ayurveda teaches us to do.
Right. So not just dealing with the symptom of I can't sleep, or the symptom of I have this illness or this issue that I'm uncomfortable with, but truly getting to the core of what's causing that symptom.
Exactly. And it's about imbalance.
Right. And isn't it empowering to recognize that we are totally in control of being able to make that happen?
It's wonderful. And once you have one experience of it, your life is totally, totally changed. Because you know things happen, I can change that.
I know. Isn't that great? So we are all in control for our own selves.
Yes.
Oh, well, Felicia, thank you for spending this time with us today. I hope that some of our viewers have really been inspired the way that I feel inspired by the information you've been able to share with us. And if someone's interested in getting in touch with you, they can see our information. I know that we posted up your email address, and they could go to the Chopra Center's website.
Great.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you visiting with us again for another week, and hope you join us again next week when we'll have another great show.